Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new 2024 ROG Zephyrus G16 gaming laptop. And this is one I've been wanting to get my hands on ever since they announced it a few months ago. Because ROG has revamped their Zephyrus line across the board, adding new upgrades like a brand new OLED display, full aluminum chassis, and new chipsets. And speaking of new chipsets, the G16 that we're going to be taking a look at in this video is powered by the all-new Intel Core 9 185H. This is going to give us 16 cores, 22 threads, but I gotta say, my favorite upgrade here is the new display. This is their brand new 2.5K ROG Nebula OLED display, up to 240 Hz. I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. With this new 16-inch ROG Nebula OLED display, we've got a resolution of 2560 by 1600, aspect ratio of 16 by 10, 100% DCI-P3, and it's Pantone validated across the board, up to 500 nits of sustained brightness. It's got a refresh rate of 240 Hz, supports Nvidia G-Sync, response time of 0.2 milliseconds, and it also supports Dolby Vision HDR+. So obviously the G16 does have a spectacular display, and when it comes to the keyboard, it's a chiclet style RGB backlit single zone here. And now with the 2024 G16, we've got a 6-speaker system, which sounds amazing. I mean, it's definitely one of the best sounding laptops on the market right now. It actually puts out bass, which is really crazy for such a thin and light unit. Like I mentioned, this year we do have a new aluminum chassis with the G16. It's CNC machine using a 12-step manufacturing process, and by the end, this thing only comes in at 1.49 centimeters thin, which is crazy for the power this thing's putting out. Speaking of power, I do want to give you a rundown on the specs here. Keep in mind there are other models on the market, and you can get this with up to the RTX 4090, but with this we have the Intel Core Ultra 9 185H, 24 megabytes of Intel Smart Cache, 16 cores, 22 threads, 6 performance cores up to 5.1 GHz, 8 efficiency cores up to 3.8, and 2 low power efficiency cores at 2.3. With this new 185H, we also get their Intel Arc iGPU, 8 Xe cores up to 2.35 GHz. This unit here came with 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X at 7,467 megatransfers per second. Unfortunately, since it's LP RAM, it is soldered to the board, so it's non-user upgradable. We also have the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4070 with ROG boost up to 2,105 MHz, and this has 8 gigabytes of GDDR6. Again, we've got that absolutely beautiful 2.5K ROG Nebula OLED display up to 240 Hz. And the G16 comes with a 90 watt-hour battery. With the included charger, you can go from 0 to 50% in 30 minutes flat. Okay, so I've been messing around with the G16 for the last few days. Keyboard feels great. It's a chiclet style, single zone RGB backlit. We can control this lighting from Armoury Crate. I love this massively oversized trackpad here. Since we're working with a larger form factor, a 16-inch laptop, they've got enough room to put a much larger trackpad here. And this thing is putting out a ton of performance with that Intel Core Ultra 9 185H. If you're familiar with these ROG units, you know we have Armoury Crate built in, and from here we can control the overall performance and basically everything with the laptop from their control center. We've got several custom power profiles built in, silent, performance, turbo, and we can even go to manual. The 185H in the G16 will do up to 100 watts, and at 100 watts, I mean, this is a screaming chip. This thing does an amazing job. Everything that I've thrown at it, it's been able to handle it just fine. From Armoury Crate, we can control the RGB with that backlit keyboard, and this has the new slash lighting system around back. Again, from Armoury Crate, this is something that we can set up. There's a lot of different profiles that we can mess around with. Personally, one of my favorites is the loading profile, but just like most of their other devices with external lighting, you can always disable this if you don't want it going. You can also set it up to be on all the time, even on battery. It's really up to you. But one of the main things I wanted to show off here was overall performance, because after all, this is a gaming laptop, and with that new Intel Core Ultra 9 185H, 16 cores, 22 threads, this thing trucks along. Now, of course, it is paired up with that Nvidia GeForce RTX 4070, but in low power mode, you can use the new Intel Arc graphics. And of course, since we've got that Core Ultra CPU, we've got this built-in NPU. It's Intel's new AI boost. It's a neural processing unit, which should help offload AI tasks to this NPU. And yeah, there's not a real good kind of across the board benchmark that we can get a good feel for how these NPUs are performing. Hopefully in the next month or so, we do see something that's going to be kind of mainstay, so we can fairly test out all of these AI-capable chips with kind of the same software. But when it comes to other areas to benchmark, like the GPU and CPU, I've got you covered. I've run a bunch on here, and I was really interested to show off some CPU benchmarks, given that this is kind of the first time we've taken a look at the 185H. So first up, we've got Geekbench 5, and keep in mind we are in turbo mode from Armory Crate with the G16. Single core, 2,323, multi, 13,535. Looking pretty impressive. I was kind of hoping to see a higher single core, given that this does clock up to 5.1 gigahertz, but for gaming, we've got plenty of power here just looking at this synthetic. Firestrike, 25,906. I also tested the Port Royal benchmark because after all, we are working with an RTX card, and I wanted to check out a little bit of ray tracing here. 7,354 total score there. And finally, we've got Time Spy with a really impressive 12,508. So with these synthetics, the GPU-CPU combo that came up with for the G16 is looking really good, but these are synthetics, and now it's time to check out some real-world gaming performance. Okay, so first up, we've got Forza Motorsports 1600p, given the resolution of the built-in OLED display here. Ultra settings, seeing some awesome performance, and since we're working with Nvidia, you can always enable DLSS if you want to. I tried to run everything without it just to get that native 1600p, but adding a little bit of DLSS to some esports games would really help out because we do have that 240Hz display, and with a lot of the stuff you can actually get up there with the RTX 4070 and DLSS enabled. Next on the list, we've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Just use the built-in benchmark here. 1600p ultra settings, and it defaulted to DLSS being set to balanced, and with it set up like this, we had an average of 92 FPS. Of course, you could run this at 60 with no DLSS if you wanted to. And of course, with that really low 0.2 millisecond response rate, playing these esports games is going to be a treat on this display. Next up, we've got Tekken 8. Definitely wanted to throw at least one fighting game in here. I did test out Mortal Kombat 1, and we can run that at ultra settings with no DLSS on this display. Right now, with Tekken 8, 1600p, ultra, running at a constant 60. Going into these fighting games, I knew we weren't really going to have an issue with them. I mean, anything that's out right now is going to run at full speed on this. We could even go up to 120 with something like this if you want to play your fighting games like that. It's really up to you, but I've always kind of kept it at 60 with all of my favorite fighting games, and I've been playing Tekken 8 quite a bit recently. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, 1600p, very high. I thought we'd get a little more out of this. Now, I'm not saying it's under 60 at all. We actually had an average of 82 FPS out of this game, but I figured we'd be up in the hundreds, and yeah, with DLSS you could get there. But again, I wanted to keep it off for most of these games unless it kind of sets it up default, like the next one here, Cyberpunk 2077. And with this, I didn't go into any ray tracing. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of ray tracing. I usually just set this game to Ultra, and with this, DLSS is defaulted to Auto. We're getting an average of around 87 FPS, but you could always use Nvidia Frame Gen or add a little more DLSS. Either way you look at it, I mean, this is going to run any AAA game on the market. And we've got that beautiful display. Not sure how well it's coming across in a YouTube video, but the blacks are super black. Response time is absolutely amazing. And with those esports games, you can do up to 240 Hz with this display. After spending a few days with the G16, I could definitely see the appeal in something like this. Super thin design, absolutely beautiful display, putting out a lot of power with the RTX 4070 paired up with that Intel Core Ultra 9 185H. But keep in mind, you can get this with up to the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4090 or as low as the RTX 4060. It's really up to you. But I personally do like the new upgrades here with the ROG Zephyrus. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look. If there's anything else you want to see running on this, or if you even want to see some iGPU performance out of that new Intel Arc iGPU, let me know in the comments below. I can definitely test some more stuff on this. And if you'd like to learn a little more about the 2024 ROG line, I'll leave some links to their official website. You can also get this from Best Buy. I believe it's listed on Amazon. I'll find some stuff, put it down below. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. You got any questions? Let me know. Like always, thanks for watching.